A helicopter crash in a Kyiv suburb has killed at least 18 people, including Ukraine's interior minister and 2 children. Denis Monastrisky and 2 other government officials were among the 9 victims aboard the emergency services helicopter that crashed near a nursery in Kyiv's eastern suburb of Brovary. Kyiv has confirmed that Monastrisky, who is the most senior Ukraine official to have died since the start of the war, was on his way to the front line.
A deserter from Russia's notorious Wagner mercenary group has fled to Norway after allegedly witnessing the killing of soldiers unwilling to fight in Ukraine. Alexei Medvedev made a dramatic escape across the border and is now filing for asylum. He commanded a troop of ex-convicts recruited by the Wagner Group. He says he fled after seeing most of his unit die in the intense fighting around the Ukrainian city of Bakhmut and after witnessing the execution of deserters. The Wagner Group has taken on an increasingly prominent role in Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
At least 5 soldiers, including a senior Somali army commander, have been killed in an Islamist attack on a military base in Hawadli, north of the capital, Mogadishu. Now, this latest attack comes a day after the government announced it had recaptured the key port of Haradri in central Somalia, which had been under jihadist control for 15 years. The latest attack comes after the government on Tuesday recaptured Alger town, a day after taking control over the key port town of Haradri in central Somalia.
Rescuers used drones and upsealed down a deep gorge on Tuesday looking for the last missing person from Nepal's worst air disaster in 30 years, in which at least 71 people died, including small children. Difficult terrain around the 200-meter gorge and poor weather was hampering the rescue efforts near the tourist city of Pokhara, where the Yeti Airlines ATR-72 turboprop carrying 72 people crashed on Sunday just before landing. The search was called off after darkness descended and resumed today morning. Rescuers had collected what appeared to be human remains and sent them for a DNA test. But search efforts would continue until all the 72 passengers and crew were accounted for.
This is Awad Al-Karni, a preacher, an academic and a pro-reform advocate in Saudi Arabia. Until 2017, he worked at the King Khalid University in Saudi Arabia, but since then he's been in jail. In September that year, he was arrested as part of a crackdown against dissent. 5 years on, he's facing a death sentence. Yes, Saudi prosecutors are seeking a death penalty against him. The question is why? The answer is his social media activism. According to court documents, Al-Karni has been accused of having a Twitter account and using WhatsApp to share hostile news against the Saudi state.
With 145 passengers on board, this Qantas flight is down to 1 engine and fast approaching Sydney Airport. 30 police cars, 20 ambulances and 12 fire and rescue trucks ready on the tarmac after QF 144 issued a mayday call. But this was the best possible outcome, the 737 making a textbook landing. It was 2 hours into its flight from Auckland to Sydney over the Tasman Sea when passengers realised something was wrong. QF 144 departed Auckland at 12:30 Sydney time. At around 2:30 the engine failed and the captain issued the mayday call. Later that was downgraded to a PAN, a possible assistance notice.
World-renowned climate activist Greta Thunberg was briefly detained in Germany on Tuesday, alongside others protesting against the demolition of a village to make way for a coal mine expansion. Thunberg was removed by officers after sitting with a group of protesters near the edge of the Garzweiler 2 lignite coal mine, about 5.5 miles from the village of Luetzerath. The village is to be razed as part of an agreement between the government and Germany energy utility RWE. The deal saves 5 other villages once slated for destruction. The German government has said it needs the mine for the nation's energy security. But opponents say Germany should not be mining any more lignite and should focus on expanding renewable energy instead.
A lot of people talking about this shocking video from Indiana. This is a 4-year-old boy playing alone with a loaded gun outside the door of his apartment. Happened on Saturday. A neighbor called 911 reporting that a young boy in diapers was pointing a handgun at people. Police determined the child was holding a Smith & Wesson handgun loaded with 15 rounds. The boy's father under arrest. He's been initially charged with neglect of a dependent. His son was taken to his mother's home after this incident.